Or actually, let's start with Ashley and then Bill, then Sam, then John. So Ashley, go ahead.
Hi.
Okay.
Question for Mary. Mary, I think I speak for a lot of disco fans when I say Tilly makes me feel seen, so thank you. But watching her come into her own last season was a breath of fresh air. In what ways can we see Tilly exercise her leadership skills in this season?
I think Tilly, after the events of last season, I agree. I think she really came into her own because she had to. Um, I think she has a little bit more space now, no longer being in command, where um, she can kind of like breathe and sit with that experience and clarify for herself what kind of captain she wants to be. And it's also going to be, I think that experience is going to generate a lot of questions for Tilly in terms of like, who am I? Who do I want to be? What kind of captain do I want to be? Where do I fit? So that journey will really continue. But I think even more so this season, she starts to figure out who she is. Yeah.
Bill, you can go ahead.
All right, thanks. David, hi. Book has clearly found a place he belongs as far as Burnham is concerned. But how does he feel about Starfleet? Does he feel like he belongs there?
I think Book definitely had his preconceived ideas, and I think he sees the benefits of being part of a team. He sees how beneficial it can be, and he sees the difference it makes when you work together and how effective you can be, and the importance of having people to rely on and knowing that we're all interconnected. And I think it's a big shift for Book in his psyche and his thinking. So even though he may not physically be aligning himself and committing to Starfleet, I think there's a major shift which has happened behind the scenes, and I think he's definitely more embracive of the idea of being part of Starfleet, but he's still going to protect his autonomy. And Grudge's autonomy as well.
Naturally.
Come on, can't forget Grudge.
Sam, you can go ahead.
To kind of build off that, David, you're not the new kid on the block anymore. How is it kind of having, being able to build on that rapport with the rest of the cast, like Mary, and just become further integrate yourself into the wider Star Trek mythos?
Yeah, it's good, but I tell you what, I did have the sense of being the new kid on the block, but that way of thinking was dismantled very quickly because of the generosity and kindness of the cast. Just very, very open, very collaborative, and just really cool to kind of be around. I love stepping on set and seeing these guys' faces. It feels safe, and then now to be in a position to build upon that is wonderful. There's a foundation to use as a springboard to just dive a little deeper.
Yeah, we also don't keep people on the outs for long.
No,
Sydney will pull you in.
Literally, there's no room for sitting on the outskirts. You are just pulled in the most wonderful, loving way.
John, you can go ahead.
Hi, Mary and David. I'm so glad you guys are paired together.
Me too.
I don't know about it. On the fence.
Well, Tilly's Michael's Tilly is Michael's best friend. Oh yeah, no problem. So anyway, Tilly is Michael's best friend and number one, and Book is her number one man. So how do your
Book is who? Sorry.
Book is her number one man, right?
Sorry, I missed that. What was
that? So
Don't let him bully you.
not at all. How do your characters get along, and can you speak to the unique access each of your characters have to the new captain?
Yeah, we both have very intimate relationships with Michael. But we don't have much, we don't have a lot of scenes together that are just one-on-one. But I think we both experience her promotion and what that means and the change it gives us in access to her or in terms of her responsibilities. Um, but I like to think that after Burnham's experiences with her previous boyfriend, who had a whole body snatcher situation, that I have an eye on Book just to make sure there's no Klingons grafted onto his brain, shenanigans like that.
Like a good number one should.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Ashley, you can start again.
Question for David. In what ways can we expect to see Book use his empathic abilities in season 4, aside from connecting with the spore drive?
Good question. Oh, you. We definitely see more of it in play, but what's so different about the texture of how he connects is the stakes being painfully high.
That would affect your empathic abilities for sure.
Yeah, because they may not work as well because a lot of emotions are involved.
All right, Bill, you can go ahead.
That was a really great dodge. I loved it. Mary, I have a quick question for you. Obviously, a lot transpired in season 3. Do you have one particular moment that stands out as your favorite? Because I know I can't ask you any spoilers.
I know. I'm thinking. Okay. Well, it's hard to say in retrospect, but so there's a conversation that Burnham and Tilly have once they're all reunited in front of this memorial wall of badges. When we read that in the read through, it was like just like weeping. Like it's just a very tender moment between friends who have lost something. Very simple. Not a lot has to be said, and that was very dear to me. And all those like intimate scenes between Tilly and Burnham are always very special to me. Yeah, I think it might be that. Yeah, and then there's also a scene where she stands up to Stamets because he says something hurtful and diminishing to her, and I think the way that they handle it and the way that they apologize to each other is so our version of Trek that's like. Look, apologizing is such a great act of love because you have to make yourself so vulnerable by owning that you did something wrong, which is really hard to own. But that's the kind of love Discovery has to offer. Is like people making themselves vulnerable for each other, and it shows both of their growth. That she sticks up for herself, and she doesn't let him off the hook, and that he really makes himself vulnerable for her to show her how much he respects and cares about her. So that's probably the other one I love.
I think we do one more quick question, Sam, if you want to do. Go ahead.
Oh boy, I'll go one for. I'll pitch a softball for both of you guys. So to kind of build off that, Mary, where do you see Discovery is now the tip of the spear. It's the show that revived the franchise for Paramount Plus. So it leads the charge in a lot of ways. Where do you see Discovery in the wider Star Trek universe?
Like, where does it fit in?
Or just like thematically, like where do you kind of see it? Like what is the space emotionally that this thing occupies?
I mean, definitely, I think our show, by design and also by merit of the people who are involved, is all about empathy and vulnerability. And that is what true strength is, and that is the only place to connect with other people from. You cannot do it from pride, you can't do it from ego or anger or bitterness. You have to let it out. You have to like open up in order to reach true understanding. So that always feels like kind of a center of our show to me.
I think it's a very important one. You're always it's so important to care about these characters and to be rooting for these characters and to see growth. I think the best compliment I heard is someone referring to, I can't remember what character, but I think they were speaking about Adira, and they were saying how proud they felt by seeing the growth of Adira. Like that level of investment with a character on TV. It's so inspiring to know that this is the infrastructure where you can create characters to have that effect on people. So come what may, whatever seasons come in the future, I think it should always come from a place of being sympathetic, empathetic, connecting, being vulnerable, being open, being honest, and just echoing all the things that Mary was saying. Void of pride, full of empathy and compassion. It's a bigger picture, isn't it? It's not about oneself.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys.